Penguin Random House Audio presents Fever at Dawn by Peter Gardos, translated from the Hungarian by Elizabeth Sass, read for you by Arthur Morey. Chapter 1. My father, Miklos, sailed to Sweden on a rainy summer's day, 3 weeks after the Second World War ended. He was 25 years old. An angry north wind lashed the Baltic Sea into a 3-meter swell, and he lay on the lower deck while the ship plunged and bucked. Around him, passengers clung desperately to their straw mattresses. They had been at sea for less than an hour when Miklos was taken ill. He began to cough up bloody foam, and then he started to wheeze so loudly that he almost drowned out the waves pounding the hull. He was one of the more serious cases, parked in the first row right next to the swing door. 2 sailors picked up his skeletal body and carried him into a nearby cabin. The doctor didn't hesitate. There was no time for painkillers. Relying on luck to hit the right spot between 2 ribs, he stuck a large needle into my father's chest. Half a liter of fluid drained from his lungs. When the aspirator arrived, the doctor swapped the needle for a plastic tube and siphoned off another 1.5 liters of mucus. Miklos felt better. When the captain learned that the doctor had saved a passenger's life, he granted the sick man a special favor. He had him wrapped in a thick blanket and taken out to sit on the deck. Heavy clouds were gathering over the granite water. The captain, impeccable in his uniform, stood beside Miklos's deck chair. "Do you speak German?" he asked. "Yes." "Congratulations on your survival." In different circumstances, this conversation might have led somewhere, but Miklos was in no state to chat. It was all he could do to acknowledge the situation. "I'm alive." The captain looked him up and down. My father's ashen skin was stretched over his skull, and there were ugly warts on his face. His pupils were magnified by his glasses, and his mouth was a dark, yawning void. He virtually hadn't a tooth to call his own. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe 3 burly louts had beaten his scrawny frame to a pulp in an air raid shelter lit by a naked bulb swinging from the ceiling. Maybe one of these thugs had grabbed a flat iron and used it over and over to bash Miklos in the face. According to the official version, which was rather short on detail, most of his teeth had been knocked out in the prison on Margit Street in Budapest in 1944, when he was arrested as a deserter from a Jewish forced labor unit. But now he was alive. And despite the slight whistle when he took a breath, his lungs were dutifully processing the crisp, salty air. The captain peered through his telescope. "We're docking in Malmö for 5 minutes." This didn't really mean anything to Miklos. He was one of 224 concentration camp survivors who were being shipped from Lübeck in Germany to Stockholm. Some of them were in such bad shape that they wanted nothing more than to survive the journey. A few minutes in Malmö was neither here nor there. The captain, however, continued to explain the decision as if to a superior. "The order came over the radio. This stop wasn't part of my itinerary." The ship's horn sounded as the docks of Malmö harbor became visible in the mist. A flock of seagulls circled. The ship moored at the end of the pier. 2 sailors disembarked and started jogging along the pier. Between them they carried a big empty basket, the kind washerwomen use to haul wet laundry up to the attic to hang out. A crowd of women on bicycles was waiting at the approach to the pier. There must have been 50 of them, motionless and silent, gripping their handlebars. Many wore black headscarves. They looked like ravens perched on a branch. It was only when the sailors reached the barrier that Miklos noticed the parcels and baskets hanging from the handlebars. He felt the captain's hand on his shoulder. "Some mad rabbi by the name of Kronheim dreamed this up," the captain explained. "He placed an ad in the papers saying that you people were arriving on this ship."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?